Now recording.
Hey.
There we go. What's going on, man?
Hey, how's it going? Yeah, I'm doing pretty good.
I'm just logging in now.
Yeah, I'm not in there yet.
I'll be in Worlds 575.
Yeah.
Not sure, yeah. So it's been a couple weeks.
Yeah, what was I doing last week? I always have like amnesia where I can't remember like if I try to recall like what I was doing on a certain day, like in the recent past, I never can remember.
Something about
Let's
a
see.
friend coming up.
It'll
Like you
be
couldn't.
let's see, I'll go back on my calendar. I was at a music workshop. Yeah.
Oh
I
yeah, how'd
did.
that go?
Yeah, it was good. I learned like it was Ableton Live was the software we were using, and it was about like making ambient music. So they mostly we used like effects called delay and whatever that other one's the other common one, reverberation or something.
Reverb, man.
Yeah, reverb. Yeah, delay and reverb to like basically just take notes. We like randomly generated notes, and we used effects that converted the notes, like it like clamped the notes down into like a certain scale. I think it's one of them's called like the pentatonic scale or something like that. And so you could just like enter like random MIDI notes. It would squish them into that scale, and then we would like delay them, reverb them until they basically were like a soundscape type thing.
Cool. Yeah. I got a mic from a buddy at work. He heard one of my songs there, Boundless, that I use my iPhone to record. And, I shared it with a few people, including this dude, and he's like, yeah, it sounds good, but it's muffled. So he lent me the mic that he has, and I've been humming and hawing, plugging it, trying to figure out how to plug it in and use software for like a month now. And, I just did it. I sorted it out this evening.
And
And,
that's in what plugged into what? Just like a
just
regular.
directly into the computer. I used the software, what was it called? Not Soundtrap, Cakewalk.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so, I hit some keys, tried out the recording thing, and it wasn't that great. But, it was like this fear of failing that stopped me from doing it for like the last month. And I figured, I gotta act. I can't just keep sitting on these projects, these things that I want to do, because it just never gets done, right? I keep thinking about it, but it never happens. So I just said, fuck it, I'm going to take some action. And I had a few minutes before our little call here, and so I tried.
Oh, you did it like just then. That's good. Yeah, it's so funny how like this very subtle action, like just like taking a random shot in the dark, plugging it in, trying it, and then it works, and then it unlocks like so much potential like content creation just from that one like discovery.
Yeah, and it's like, it's not perfect. There was a lot of clipping. I had to adjust the mic. I took the mic directly in the grand piano. And so obviously there's like proper ways to do it. And I should probably look that up, but I just wanted to do it, like take action, try it out. It wasn't going to be pretty. But like this whole, I want perfect quality. And I can't get from beginner, never recorded with the mic before, to perfection without trying and doing the work and learning, right? So it's like this fear of failing or not being perfect was preventing me from even trying, which is like with a lot of things in my life. And just like I was trying to say before, it's like you just gotta fucking act. You gotta try. You gotta be brave and just do it. And it wasn't a failure. I mean, it wasn't perfect. It was a learning experience for sure. So,
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah. Go ahead.
yeah, actually, I recorded a whole song. and even the song wasn't the one called Boundless. It wasn't perfect. I mean, just the fact I recorded the whole thing. I mean, I think that's an accomplishment, something I can be proud of.
Yeah.
I could do more next week or tomorrow. It's just those first steps, right? That's the hard part.
But you think that like even if the mic was the best, you'd still be recording it in like a room that has like a room that's not a sound studio or something. So wouldn't like a real life mic, like do you think that could ever be better than just like recording MIDI notes and purchasing like a quality like digital model of piano? Like do you think
And I
that
don't,
the real life recording would beat it?
I don't know. If I had a full concert grand set up professionally in a concert hall, then obviously that's the best quality. But I don't have that. So, and that's the thing is like I want to put my time into one field, and I want to put it into the one that makes sense based off the resources that I have. But I got to try both out to know really what the quality, what the end product's going to be. So I've half recorded that song using MIDI, and it was a pain in the ass because I'm doing it like piece by piece, which is just it feels unnatural to me. So, and like the flow isn't even there. So that's not working for me. I got to play the whole song and then I do my editing afterwards.
Yeah,
Um,
that's what I would assume. Why even do piece by piece with MIDI? Why not just play normally with MIDI?
yeah, I don't know why I thought that would be a good idea, but it isn't. No, like the fear of messing up when I was using my phone would make my fingers go stiff, so I couldn't actually like play from the heart. If that makes sense, like it felt
Yeah,
like it was rigid and I was blocked. I had like this mental block, but realizing that I can make a mistake and it not like ruin the whole piece, that I have the opportunity to go back and fix it. Uh, that takes away that fear of messing up, and so it
I feel like
allows.
yeah. Continue if you wanted to say something.
Yeah, I was gonna say like it allows me to flow properly because I'm not hyper focused on making a mistake.
With the what allows you to do that? Like the physical microphone?
No, the MIDI.
Oh, that the MIDI. What do you? Because you're still being like recorded with MIDI, but you don't feel the same pressure as like a direct recording.
Yeah. So if I have my phone or even using the mic, if I mess up using the mic, well, that's it.
Oh, true.
I got to replay that section.
Oh, yeah, it's a good point. Yeah, the MIDI you can like edit the notes themselves afterwards and correct it.
Yeah, the
Huh.
the difference though is like just the quality of the piano, the way the sound is from a piano versus like a MIDI or a sound box or whatever they call it. Like it's just the end product. If you have a good mic, if you have a great piano in the proper room and you record it properly, you're gonna have a better piece than if you record using MIDI. Like when I've been listening to a lot of orchestras,
Yeah.
and with a lot of strings, and just like it's mind blowing. And I hear it, and it almost discourages me because they're so good, like the pianist, the violin, the cello, whatever. Like I'm never gonna get to that level, and that's like what I'm telling myself, and beating myself up. Oh, I won't get there. I won't get there. But yet, like that's what I want to do one day. I want to actually perform in an orchestra, and I know there's a long way from where I'm at now in order to get there. But it's like I'm telling myself I can't do it because I'm not that good right now, and it doesn't make any sense. So I've been doing I've been trying the recording, but I'm also planning to do like formal training, learning how to read music, and just going for the Royal Conservatory grading, if I'm saying that right. So I can like get up there and get that credibility. and then perform my pieces, try to get it out there at the same time with the best quality that I can, and hopefully maybe get picked up by someone that sees potential. But I may not make it, but I'd rather try and learn from the opportunity than be on my deathbed regretting the fact I never even tried, you know?
Yeah, I feel like no matter how good you get in skill level, you can't control ultimately the fact of like this group of people that is the orchestra deciding to take you or not. It's like out of your control. So then I feel like the thing you have to take pride in is like you know, like use the idea of getting into the orchestra as like motivation to up your skill level, but then have the skill that you build along the way be like the reward in itself. And then just like whether or not the dream of like being in an orchestra like materializes is like sort of like doesn't matter, you know, like because that it's not like getting into an official orchestra proves you have like more skill. Like you could have way more skill, but just like politically things don't align to be like inducted into an orchestra. So I feel like it's hard to, it feels like scary to set a goal that there's like a committee of people that decides whether you achieve the goal or not. It's nice to set goals that like that we have complete control over, like whether we accomplish or not.
Yeah.
Because then the goal, like I feel like getting into an orchestra would be like the more people who you know, like the more friends you have that are in orchestras, the better the chance would be. And then the goal would be like make like 3 friends that are in orchestras, you know, and that would be like a stepping stone to the goal, but that has like nothing to do with like actually playing music in some sense.
Yeah, you know that saying, it's not what you know, it's who you know. But, you know, when you're actually playing, it comes down to your ability to play, right? Like you can't be trash.
Yeah, I'd imagine you won't have much. Either you already are, or with a bit of training, like you'd easily cross that bar of like being good enough that you'd check that box, and then it's just a matter of like checking the who you know box.
Yeah, I'd say like with how long I've been playing, I have a good foundation. I know where my weaknesses are. But I heard like the Beatles took no theory. They didn't learn music theory. They just composed. And they're pretty decent. Actually, they're great. But
yeah, I watched like that whole like the Beatles Get Back documentary, and then I read like the entire John Lennon like biography book. And so I feel they never had formal training, and actually like John Lennon himself was kind of against like formal training. He felt that like a person should not feel like they need to like get approval from like a teacher in order to make music. He felt like anyone that just has an instrument can just immediately create music by interacting with that instrument, and it's up to them if it sounds good or not. Sort of, he felt like it, you know, he was very against like the idea of like this like over intellectualizing music and restricting it to like only those formally trained. But that being said, they had so much like they played constantly like in front of audiences, and when they were all together as a group in the early days, like they played like, you know, beyond like 9 hours a day or something like that, like of practice and playing and writing songs. And I feel like they definitely had like an insane amount of like a talent and practice that went into it, like which I'd imagine could compensate for like any formal knowledge they could have been told or something.
yeah, if anything, they were like pioneers of their time. And it was because they were playing for so long and practicing so much.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know, if you do something to get good, it takes the joy out of it. And like, if you do it because it's fun and you do it all the time because you enjoy it, you'll get good at it. And that's why we should do stuff, is because we have fun doing it. And right now, when I play, it's fun. And I like making songs. I like getting them out there. Until I don't. Until I start putting pressure on myself. And it's like I hear all these kids that, you know, are put through training and at a young age because I guess their kid wants them to be the next, 4-year-old Korean orchestra master, and it's like you can't force your kids to do that. Like, yeah, you can, but are they going to love
Yeah.
it? I don't think so. Maybe they grow to love it, but a lot of the stories I've heard, they're put in piano practice growing up, and then they stopped, and then they hear me play, and they tell me, oh, they wish they kept going, and it's like, well, it's because you were forced. That's why you didn't want to play.
Yeah.
And if you want to play now, it's never too late. And I encourage people just to do it. It's so therapeutic. It's a great outlet. But it's being forced to do something, and whether it be somebody else or you forcing yourself. It can take away the joy, and it's odd because, like, I have these goals, and I'm afraid to do them. And I'm saying, like, when we first started talking, I'm like, you gotta act. You gotta act. And that's how you can get through the fear. But it's like I'm forcing myself to do the goals that I want to do. So it's almost sort of like what I'm saying is kind of contradicting itself. But it's me progressing my hobby and enjoying the piano. What's stopping me is this fear of failure, this fear of success that comes from my subconscious. For whatever reason, the piano is, I don't know if my subconscious wants to put me out there or would rather keep me confined to my life the way it is. Because if I am successful and I get out there, well, that's going to change things. And, we don't like change, right? A lot of people don't like change. So I'm wondering if it's like this fear that's being put in my way, blocking me from wanting to pursue these goals. Like, I'm wondering if that's different than me not actually enjoying it and having to force myself. Because when I was composing today, I enjoyed it. But the initial, that fear I had to get over, like I needed this catalyst in order to just act and to do it. That was forcing myself. So I had to force myself to do what I wanted to do to then enjoy it. It's kind of odd.
Yeah.
And that's
I find that a lot with my stuff. Yeah, forcing myself to enjoy stuff is like a common thing.
And I don't get that. Like, if it's a hobby and we enjoy doing it, why is there like this fear? There's no fear if I just play for me. If I just start smashing keys on the piano, there's no expectations and there's no putting it online, there's no recording. It's fun. But I actually want to put my songs out there so that other people can enjoy them, because I know it can be therapeutic. But it's like that work. I don't like the hassle that goes into it.
Well, yeah, I have so many thoughts like in this area. Like, it almost seems like it seems like if you play like a really good song, because like if you force yourself to play like a beautiful song and you kind of enjoy it, but that the enjoyment is hidden by the fact that you like forced the process and you like spent, like, you sort of did this whole grind of like editing it and publishing it, and then people listen to it and they say like, that's beautiful, it sounds like effortless. It feels like you lied to them in a sense, because it's sort of like you want them, when they listen to the song, you want them to feel like all the things that you felt, like all the pain and suffering that went into making the beautiful song, but all they hear is like the beauty. And so then you feel like they're not getting the message because all of the hard stuff is like hidden in the fact that you like cleaned up the song and you did all these, like, jumped through all these hoops to like make it perfect. But then it's like, but if you left in all the edits and the bad stuff, and they actually heard like the true song and all the attempts, it wouldn't be like, they wouldn't listen to it or whatever, because they think it's just like a bad song or whatever. But that would be the more true version of the song is like all the failed outtakes before the final product.
Yeah, 9 hours of failed attempts for my one song there. Yeah.
Yeah, it's almost like, it's like for me, anything that I do, I want to like create stuff that encourages other people or like helps other people to go through the same like journey that I went through, because I don't find that like showing people like the final product of something, it doesn't communicate really what I intend to communicate to them, which is like I sort of want to communicate to people like, here's a beautiful thing. I want them to understand like how they can get there. But the final product never communicates like the journey, or the final product intimidates people. And so then I want to make stuff that like encourages people to get started themselves, like almost like some kind of ingredients or something and then when I translate that to a song, I think like maybe a song that starts like really simple and like one part gets added at a time, such that people can really track like what's going on. Like they understand the first part, which is like a single note, and then like a second note comes in, and you could maybe like the name of the song is like a description of like how to build the song, kind of almost like, so that like being exposed to the song almost is like the instructions one would need to create the same song themselves. And then like that piece of art would be like a complete thing, because it's like a self-replicating machine almost. Like anyone who encounters this thing also knows how to like reproduce it, and then they produce things that other people learn how to produce, and then like everybody's all of a sudden like everybody has experienced like the same thing that I wanted to sort of get out there, which is like a feeling, like give them the feeling of like accomplishment or something.
Yeah, I don't know how you would go about doing that.
I almost feel like that's what a video game is. Like a video game is like a sandbox environment where like someone has created this environment so that I can like exist in the world of RuneScape and like do this grind in order to like create like a leveled up character or whatever. And it's like it sort of mimics like the process that the person had to go through to make the video game. Was like they had to grind like a bunch and like fix all these bugs and produce the game. And then when I play the game, I'm like mirroring that. Like I'm doing this like kind of unpleasant like grind or something with the purpose of having something to show for it or something. And then if I applied that same like sort of grind mentality, I could make my own video game or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. I like that. I like things that are like self-reflective or something.
Yeah, it's definitely quite the grind in this one. Yeah, see, for me, when I'm making a piece, usually there's inspiration behind the song. So whether it be something, so my songs from my childhood, I should say adolescence, there was a lot of emotion, a lot of power behind the notes. The one song that comes to mind is called Anger Within. And you can literally feel as I start, it gets like the playing becomes more and more aggressive, and you can feel the anger in the notes. And I mean that's really neat. Like the name actually reflects the song, and it was, there's a lot of pent up anger from the past, which I won't dive into, but a great song that I keep thinking about that I want to remaster. Well, actually, master for the first time because the first recording wasn't too great. But like when I compose, you can feel what it is that I feel when you listen to the song, and I think that's what's important for me, and not the mistakes. I mean, there are different variations, and I think it would be interesting to have like version 1, version 2, and people see that they can see it being developed. So like my song Boundless, there was definitely a first version, and I plan on. Well, actually, I think I'm on version 2 now, but I'm planning on progressing it because the name Boundless. It reflects the potential the song has, and also like a person inspired that, someone who I admire greatly, and my relationship with that person is going to continue to grow. So as it grows, I imagine they're going to still inspire me to play more. So it's like, with that piece, it's going to keep growing, and I'm going to have different versions. And I think people will be able to detect the emotion behind it. Because, I am really inspired to play. And some people have that effect on me. So, like, I am excited to keep working on this goal and get songs out there using MIDI. I think, using the mic, it's not, I don't think it's the way I'm going to go for now until I can get my hands on an actual full concert grand, and have someone professionally record me, like maybe show me the ropes. But I think I want to keep doing it.
Yeah, I guess people record like in an old, like, I think a popular spot to record is like in an old church or something, with the grand piano and all that stuff in the real environment with like mics like set like all 360 or something. But I guess you could also do like a quality piano in like a soundproof room, and then just add like the reverberation digitally. Because I guess actually like you can get like different reverb like effects that are, because I think how it works is like if you emit a sound like in a old church or something like that, different like frequencies in the sound will be like reflected differently by the architecture or whatever. And then you can like make a like, I guess, mathematical model of that to then say like, once you have the information about how each frequency is like reflected, then you could make a digital version where any frequency that you play digitally, you can have like reverb, not just like echo the whole thing, but echo like all the frequencies of the note like differently in accordance with how they would be reflected in the real world geometry. So I don't know, I guess that's like that's a way where you could have like the real instrument combined with like a digital modeling of the architecture. And I wonder how close that gets to like actually just playing for a bunch of like an array of mics. But I guess still, like, if you record with like 12 different mics that are like scattered in like a church, you still have to like mix them all into a track. And maybe that's dependent, like you decide like where you want the listener to be standing so that they get like the best like final presentation of the sound or something. So I feel like it's very like, but then it's like nobody knows what that sounds like. Like people, if they think something sounds good, who knows like what that means? Like it's just like whatever they're most used to hearing or what they expect to hear or something. And I guess people have like a sense of like if the sound is like reverberated in a certain way, they might feel like they're listening to it like outdoors or in a room or something. But I guess that's part of it too. Like where do you want the listener to like picture themselves being when they're listening to it? But it's strange when like if you're not playing for someone live, then they're just going to be sitting like on the bus or something listening in their headphones. And so if you're like right away, if you're trying to tell them like, oh, like when you listen to this, you should actually believe that you're like outdoors and like listening to this thing, but they know that they're not. So it's already like false. So then like in some sense, like the truest way to play the song for them is just like in a completely like sound, like almost like, I guess it's almost like they should select from like a menu. Like I'm on the bus, so like give me like the recording that was like done on a bus or something, so that it like matches where they are and they feel like the song is more personalized for their environment than trying to like convince them that they're actually like somewhere different. But yeah, it's kind of funny. Like it's hard to pin down like what is the true form of of a sound or something.
Yeah, I think how I would do it is if I had the full grand, I would have a mic for the higher notes, a mic for the lower notes, and then maybe one off in the distance there to pick up sort of like that ambience. But you could just learn from people that know, and I think learning from the professionals might be the best way. So having to figure
What
out
is
for myself.
what do you mean by like a mic for the high notes and the low notes? Like are those mics configured differently or something? Or placed
Just there's
differently?
a lot of strings in a piano, and just having that one mic that I have there, I don't feel when I listen to the song, I don't feel the bass notes because the mic is more it's closer to the higher notes, the treble
Oh,
notes.
oh yeah. Oh, like physically, yeah.
So
Said.
yeah, so I'm not feeling the bass um, from the recording. So I do think two mics are needed.
Hmm.
But yeah, anyway. Yeah, so it's going to be an ongoing thing for me. I just need to, pace myself, do it because it's fun, not because I have to do it or put pressure on myself. Because again, that takes away the joy. And it. I gotta not do stuff to get good or to be liked. I gotta do it for me, right? And like,
Yeah.
just with regards to us recording our little chat here, um, trying something that I would never do before. At least me, I would never even attempt to do something like this because it's just that fear of the unknown, the fear of taking the chance or failing, and like I'm watching the Ancient Apocalypse show, and for whatever reason, I don't know why Joe Rogan popped up. Must have been on Netflix as I was scrolling through, or Disney, one of the two. And he's a podcaster, right? And
Yeah.
I think his background's in MMA or something. I remember him from when I was in high school. And he's big. He's a huge dude, right? And then there's like, well, what's the point of even trying to put any content out there when you got people like Joe who have millions of followers, who have like rehearsed, scripted podcasts with like these guests that are amazing. And that's what, okay, so the guy that's doing the Ancient Apocalypse show, he was on Joe Rogan's podcast. And I'm just thinking to myself, like, I'm starting to talk myself out of, recording this chat with you today because of fear. And, I figured it's not going to be smooth. It's not going to be good, blah, blah, blah. Like, that's what I'm telling myself. And I might be right. But, if I go into something thinking I'm already, like, it's a failure, I've already failed. Like, I'm not going to be successful if I think that way. So instead of like messaging you and saying like, hey, let's cancel this thing and like just talk normally, I figured, give it a shot. And it's okay if we mess up or if it doesn't go in a particular direction, like the conversation. Like as long as we make the attempt, that is courage. And that's
Yeah.
more courage than I had yesterday. And if you keep having courage and you keep, braving the unknown and trying new things, acting when there's fear, you can start breaking through all these barriers that are in place because of, I don't know, what you tell yourself or what your subconscious puts in place to keep you safe. And then, you keep doing that, we can get out of the rut that we live in. There's a lot of people living in a rut. They're stuck in their comfort zone, right? Especially like middle-aged people. I find that, as I'm older, I'm not willing to take risks. I'm not willing to try new things, especially alone. Like if I have a friend kicking me in the butt to get out the door, then maybe. But yeah, it's like again, the fear, it's of the unknown, the fear of change. We convince ourselves, oh, it can wait till next week, 2 weeks from now, we procrastinate, whatever. Or just talk ourselves out of it completely and never try the new thing that we wanted to try. So, like, I'm now hosting a yearly backpacking trip, BC, to Vancouver Island, and I'm inviting people from whoever. Like, I got people from Germany that want to show up, and
That's crazy. That's a huge thing. That seems very intimidating. Like,
right?
Like
But,
having a recorded chat as our first podcast doesn't seem that intimidating versus like hosting a backpacking trip for like internationally.
right? Yeah, and there was this initial fear doing it, and then I just
But
did it.
now,
I took it.
but if you try to record a podcast on that backpacking trip where you interview the other backpackers, then maybe that's back into the intimidating side of things.
Well, now that you mentioned it, maybe not a podcast, but maybe like little video clips, taking pictures, actually capturing the experience, and then maybe turning it into a business. So I'm talking to, I got someone from the medical side just working on me doing something there. I'm not going to go into specifics, but we're having a chat. And the backpacking thing comes up because they're in the backpacking too and doing some trips in Gatineau Hill, which is North Ottawa, in Frenchland. And so I mentioned this trip, and then she's like, oh, like if you're moving out that way, which is the plan in a few years, why don't you just, because you have this plan that's clockwork, why don't you like host people and teach people how to have that experience? I'm not sure what I would charge because I'd have to go for like a week at a time. But in the summertime, I can do something if I'm part of the public service called leave with income averaging, take the whole summer off, and then just go backpacking the entire time with strangers.
Yeah,
And
that seems pretty cool.
And if I advertise it, like show videos of people having a good time, different parts of the trail, what to expect, then that might entice people. So, yeah, why not? Maybe this summer when I go, I'm gonna bust out the camera and start, capturing the trip, capturing the journey.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, that's a really good idea. I feel like it's quite fascinating. Like, I feel like there's a market for any content, but that sounds like pretty interesting. Like people hearing about that idea would be pretty like interested to see the videos or see like to try to go on a trip like that.
Yeah, and like I can maybe open up an Instagram account and have a following. And the idea is to obviously not flex that I'm on the island and having this great time, but to encourage others to do the same. Tell my story about the fact I was afraid to ever do something like this to now hosting it and having fun doing it. And just like having my story maybe inspire others to try new things by acting. And I mean, that's what I want to do at the end of the day. I want to have fun, but I also want to like benefit others. And I think I could do that with this idea of mine. So
you should do the full story though, like from you should film yourself making like the initial like advertisement post, or like when you meet like the first person who's going to come on the trip for the first time, you should like film that. And then and just so you have it, just so you have like in case it's a big success and people are happy and there's like a shot of like everyone sort of like laughing and loving it, like at the end, you have all the footage from like day one of like you have this podcast where like we're talking about it, and then you would have like the footage of like making the ad, some footage of like the first person, some email conversations and like all the way to like people laughing around a campfire or something. That would be like a pretty epic like arc for like a video.
Yeah, man. Even like getting out of the military. I should have done it years ago. Years and years and years ago. But it was fear of, the unknown that kept me from doing it. I didn't think I can get a job anywhere else. And when I actually I took a step and I applied for a public service job with Natural Resources Canada and built my resume for the first time in 16 years, if not longer. And I actually saw all the stuff that I've done. And it's like, I am quite employable. 16 years in the military, senior military officer, and all the positions I've held. It's pretty damn good. So I applied. I never even got an interview. And I realized, investigating that it's because I'm a white male. And they have this quota to fill. And so one of my students, who I taught years ago, so less experience than I have, just got the skill to meet the prerequisites of this job. They applied and they got a call for an interview within the first week because she's a girl. And that's the reality. And that's what that experience taught me, is that it's going to be a bit more challenging for me to land a job unless I release. So if I medically release, I am the top priority hire for a public service job. It doesn't matter if I'm a white male. So that's going to bump me to the top of the hiring priority. So yeah, I didn't get the job, but I tried. And what I have from that experience is the awareness that at least the public sector is looking to fill a certain quota. And I did my resume, which was quite the undertaking. It took me a while though to go through all my performance reviews and pull out all the pieces of information showing what I've accomplished. So, but that was me trying, and I did that because I was feeling trapped. And when you feel trapped in your job, like you don't have options, that's suffocating, and I was leading to a lot of anxiety. So I had to take action because my mental health demanded it. But at that point, I should have taken action years ago.
Yeah,
when I first started having issues.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, I hear a lot of people saying similar things. Like everyone always wishes they had started doing whatever sooner. I guess it's probably sort of an illusion. Like whenever people start to do a thing, that's the right time, I guess. Because had whatever the thing is, had we started years earlier, it wouldn't have felt right, and we would have had more anxiety, feeling not ready, and then if something fails, we might have thought we started too soon or something. But I feel it's sort of whatever we do or end up doing, I feel like that's probably the right, you can just retroactively say that we did everything at the right time because we are where we currently are right now or something.
Yeah, I'm not dead, so but if I got out 6 years ago, I probably wouldn't have had any coverage. And because I'm getting out medical release, I'm going to have a lot of compensation for issues that I would have had regardless. I was injured 2007, 2009. I could have got out in 2011. Doesn't cancel the fact that I have these injuries and they progressed into lifelong issues. So I just got back an MRI for the shoulders, neck, and back. And yeah, I got a body of a 54-year-old, according to my chiropractor. And I'm going to need to see a chiropractor for the rest of my life. And I get the benefits. I'm a massage therapist. And because you're not public service, but because you get out and you have chronic pain, you can also get CBD THC free for the rest of your life. So, I mean, there are perks that I wouldn't have gotten if I didn't get out medical. And so I like what you said, like it, and I can't
I
say
guess so. Yeah,
exactly.
it's like not to say that like you're not to say that like it's good to have medical issues, but the idea that like those injuries contribute to like who you are, and I would imagine like the like whatever pain you experience like through those injuries will color like the songs that you write or something like that, and then like and basically then like only you with the current body that you have and all the things you've been through could express like could create like the art of whatever song you create, like if you didn't have those injuries or if you had like a comfortable life, I feel like the pain and the suffering would not be there in order to fuel the art. And so it's almost like it's like whatever hand we're given, uh all we can do is like sort of, you know, like just exist as ourselves and present that to the world, and then like uh other people I guess benefit from that by observing our art and perhaps experiencing something from it or learning something or taking something away, and then like a piece of us has been like is now in their mind, like is part of an experience they had by listening to our music or whatever we made. But I
Yeah.
don't know. Yeah, maybe you maybe you still feel like you could probably do without the injuries. I don't know.
Yeah, I could do without the physical
You could
injuries. I
still.
mean, they hold me back from playing the piano. Now, like the hearing injury and the mental stuff, like that can
Yeah.
help. Well, not the hearing, but the mental stuff. Sure, I mean that can pain that way is is something that I can express. But I want to express more than just pain and hardship. I want to express joy and love and good emotions. And, I want to be able to have those experiences moving forward and not be held back because of my injuries, because they have been obstacles and have prevented me from forming meaningful connections with quite a few people. But I would like to get to the point where, I in my music, you can feel love, you can feel compassion, empathy, you can feel all the good stuff. But even more so, because like if you don't have any hardship in your life, no evil you've experienced, then how do you know what good is? Like,
Yeah.
can you
Yeah.
really
That's what I was, yeah.
do you really you can feel good, you can be comfortable, but without great evil, there's no great good. And it's like I could tell you for sure after, and you probably went through a similar experience when you go through basic for the first time in the military, and you're soaking wet for an entire week, and cold and miserable and sleep deprived. When you get back and you actually finally get to enjoy your weekend, or actually just some time off, I'm going to say the weekend, but you throw on, you go for a hot shower, you throw on pajamas, you sleep for 10 hours, you wake up in your comfortable clothes. I tell you, man, before that experience, I never appreciated having dry, comfortable clothes on before, but it was the best thing I've ever felt on my body. And it took me being miserable for a very long time to be able to have that comparison. And the joy that I felt from wearing those clothes. And I remember seeing a squirrel for the first time in a month, too, when I went outside because we were locked up for a month. I was ecstatic, man. I was super happy. And the same thing can be said like with all what I've gone through in life. When I finally have that joy, that love that I've been seeking, it's going to color my life in ways I didn't know were imaginable, and it, and that's I'm confident, going to show in my music and my self expression. through my pieces, and people will be able to hear that. You hear all these fucking love songs from these dweebs that don't even probably know what love is, and they're singing about it, and it's just trash. I mean, the words that they say, it's like these guys have no idea what love is. And I never really used to listen to lyrics, but now I guess in my old age I do. And, some of the melodies are okay, but when I listen to the lyrics, I'm like, no, I don't want to hear this shit again, because these guys don't know what they're talking about. Maybe they feel infatuation. I don't know, but that's not love what they're talking about.
Yeah, it's interesting that, like, I often wonder, like, I guess any music that we hear, like, on the radio or whatever, is by, like, the successful artists. And I guess being a successful musician and having your songs widely played means that, like, you've made a bunch of money, essentially. And, like, there's always, like the fourth or fifth album, I guess, like, of popular singers is always, like, about how they have so much money and like, maybe they work, like, love in there somehow. And, it's almost like that's the inevitable thing that happens to a person. Like, if you write, like, a good song, you get popular, you get money, and that that makes it so that you don't experience, like, hardship in the same way. Like, maybe there's different hardships or something but I guess the person singing the song has issues and stuff that's very different from what we have. Like, being in a different, like, financial category means, like, they experience the world in a different way. And so when we hear their music, we can't really relate to it. But we, like, a lot of the songs that we could relate to, we don't really hear because those people are not successful and they don't have money. They have, like, our level of money and our level of audience or whatever, which is just, like, their friends. And I guess I'll relate this back to what you're saying about how, like, you were feeling intimidated, I guess, that, like, Joe Rogan is so good at podcasting, and so, it'll be embarrassing for us to, like, make an attempt. But I guess it's the same thing where, like, like, I don't always want to, like, sometimes I would listen to Joe Rogan, but, like, I don't always want to hear, like, a quote unquote, like, the best podcaster in some sense in the world, like, do a podcast. Sometimes I want to hear, like, someone at my level, like, talk about the concerns that I have and relate to me in a way that I can, like, identify with. And there isn't, like, a lot of that. All the content that we're fed is, like, from very popular people who we can't really relate to. And so then it's kind of fun to think that, like, by just sort of, like, getting out there and doing it, we've already, like, and by proudly having zero audience, we can guarantee that, like, our content, it will be made by people who have no audience and can relate to, like, the concerns of also having small amounts of money and not necessarily perfect health and things like that. And I feel like that. And so then by extension, like, the music that you make will be made by a person who experiences love as, like, the average person would, like, who has all these, like, who has the classic, like, imperfect human life that most of us have, instead of, like, the life of the 1% that gets sort of, like, thrust into popularity and then lives in, like, a bubble, and they can't really relate to, like, the normal things that, like, the average person would, I guess. But I feel like that's a power. It's like a superpower that we have. Like, by luckily not having been handed everything, we've, had to work for it just like anybody. And so by creating art that comes from that place, like, it's art that is more authentic sounding to like the majority of the people in the world, hopefully. But that's interesting in itself. Like, I feel like we're so privileged already, being like you alluded to it before, like, it's like some jobs are hard for us to get because we have so much privilege that we're being, like, selected, like, sort of selected out of the filters because we have privilege. And I guess in some sense, like, that makes it hard to get, like, sometimes it's hard to get the job we want because they want to, give a voice to, like, the people that are underrepresented. But I guess hopefully that means that there's a large list of jobs that we could easily, like, stumble into. Like, I guess the fact that we're in a job, like, like, we we worked and we, that we got into the military in the first place and then had the privilege of like leaving if we want and going on and doing something else. That's because we come from like a place of privilege, of some privilege anyways. And then, like we'll go and we'll get some other job quite easily, I'm sure, but we might just not be able to get like the exact one that we want because we have to, I guess society has to have these protections for like, so that we don't just trample everyone by like just walking in the door kind of. Are you oh yeah.